Good morning, evening, or afternoon, depending on what side of the pond you're on, and welcome to an extra special edition of Across the Pitch, where today we have a guest who goes the extra mile, or actually about 120 of them, and travels all the way from Nottingham to Accrington as a season ticket holder. Welcome to the show, David Davis. Nice to have you on today.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, nice to be on the show.
And we have Darren Woodhead and Tony Robinson on the line as well. And we're going to talk a little bit of Accrington Stanley football here. Welcome to the show, Darren and Tony.
Hi, Phil. Good to speak to David. We've been lining this up for quite a while. I know myself and Tony speak to David quite a lot anyway, but it'll be good for us all to have a chat. Got the full squad out tonight, haven't we?
Yes, we've pulled out the big hitters today, and it's nice to finally get David on the show and speak Accrington. And this is looking forward to it. So welcome, David, and thanks for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, Tony and Darren and Phil.
Well, thank you. And yeah, like I said, this should be really exciting. And I think I'm gonna do a lot of sitting back and listening today, because I know the three of you have had more than your fair share of memories at the WHAM Stadium, or even going back to what it was called the Crown Ground. But how did you become an Accrington Stanley season ticket holder from Nottingham? I guess that would be my big question.
The question goes back a long way, Phil. I've been a season ticket. Well, I was a season ticket at Forest Ground, and my first match of football was 1953 Boxing Day when Forest beat Hull City 3-2. And as I grew older into my teens, I used to walk past Notts County's ground, and on the corner there used to be a big next match. And on many occasions there was big orange or big green signs saying Accrington Stanley next home game, and it always stayed with me. And as far as I was concerned, I'd never forgot about it. And then my wife and I went and stayed at the Duncan House Hotel one year for our 25th wedding anniversary. And we got bored one day and went out, and I thought, Accrington. And I came on the search for this football club, hence Accrington Stanley. And there they are, still alive, still kicking. So, and that's pre-football league. That's the Blue Square League. So lots of things really, but it was what I've always been interested in lower league teams like Gateshead, Barrow, and things like that. I've had two wonderful times at Forest with 2 European Cups, and a lot of good players. But this Accrington Stanley club, this Accrington Stanley fans, these Accrington Stanley people, these Lancashire people mean everything to me.
You touched on when you said you came up many years ago and you stayed at the Duncan House. That's one thing I was interested in asking, is because for you to travel up, it's not just a day trip; it's an overnight weekend event for you. And you mentioned Duncan House. Is that your favorite place, or is there other places that you in the area that you like to stay at?
We stay at the Stark Hotel, or about 9 miles out and down on the Clitheroe Road when we can't get into the Duncan House. But the Duncan House is the favourite one because we often bump into the opposing teams. The Luton Towns, the Notts Counties, the Wimbledon are often stay at the Duncan House. So it's nice to go outside and just pass them and say, "You're not going to win today,"
Well, I know one thing. I stayed at the Duncan House one time, and this is how well known David is at the Duncan House, is because when I went down for the breakfast the next day, the maitre d' said, "Mr. Davis has said I have to make sure you're looked after this morning." So you're a regular customer when somebody could do that for you.
Yeah. I like. It's just so convenient. Took 10 minutes away from the ground and all that. As you say, I can't. Sometimes what annoys me about the people who live in Accrington is the fact they're on the doorstep, and I travel. Sometimes it costs me £300, sometimes £500 to go and watch a match.
I can share your comments there, because I travel a little bit further, but I can only do it once a year. But the one thing, when you said you started following again Stanley, does she share your passion for the club, or is that something that she's grown into like you?
Well, it's very. I'll just a little story going back. I had many games playing in amateur football, and when I was 15, 16, I joined the local football club, and we used to travel everywhere on the back of a coal lorry, and used to put the seats on the back of the coal lorry, and then we used to hoist Angela onto the coal lorry. So she was a regular supporter of me, and she supported me through all my life, really. And I said that it'd be a good idea to go up, and she's always followed. You know, she's a lovely. We've been married 55 years, and the fact is, we support each other. But she loves football, not as much as I love football. I mean, I love football to the 9th degree, but she just enjoys the company, enjoys going to hospitality, enjoys the people that we meet. And even when Andy Holt swears, he apologises to Angela.
Yeah, that brings me on to a point, David, because I mean, I know I'm always looking for you at the ground when I turn up, and we always have a chat, but it's sometimes difficult finding you because you do like to do a little lap of the ground and meet all your friends, and there's so many characters around the ground, isn't there? You do enjoy chatting to people, don't you, and having photographs with people.
Yeah, I like to get a cup of tea for the half time for the commentary. Can't think what his name is.
Dan Joel. Yeah.
I always go and get a cup of tea for him, and he puts his thumbs up and whatever. Yeah, I just love the whole ambience of the place, and I say I look forward to seeing Darren, and I look forward to when Tony and his wife come as well. But there are quite a few. Even I can't think what his name is now. The guy who sold the ticket, the big lad, Steve.
Oh yeah, big Steve. Yeah.
There are many characters there.
Oh, there are, yeah, definitely.
So you're involved in quite a few of the initiatives to helping the club. The League Two Championship book, which Peter Latham sent me a copy of. It's just an excellent thing. Of course, the Memorial Garden Project. I know that you're one of the big donors behind that. So tell us about some of these projects that you've done over the years, and especially about the Memorial Garden, since that's in progress.
For a while, I've been thinking, you hear of people coming up and dying, and there's a little thing mentioned on the ground. And I thought, this is ridiculous. People want to leave a memory. I mean, I think it's sad that people cannot leave a memorial. And over a period of time, Peter Latham and I have talked about one or two things. And I've offered to put money into like the screen and into lots of things, really. And he said, well, that would be a good idea. So I thought, how about £1,000 to start it off? So he said, oh, right, but he had to get the nous from Andy Holt. Andy said, I don't want it to be a tin pot thing. But I think it's nice that people who supported the club, that's been a big part of their lives, have left some little remark. It's like when you go to a holiday and you sit on a bench and someone, George Brown and Mrs. Brown, sat on there, and I admire the view. I just think it's a good thing for the people to have a memory left behind of this fantastic little club. It's not a little club in my book, it's a big club in a little league.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's just amazing, and I've been following along with the progress that they post on social media, and it's really coming along.
Some of the things, one of the first things I did on one of the years, becoming friends with Peter Latham, and in particular, I said one year I bought 20 bottles of wine, 20 bottles of champagne for the night of the celebration, end of season celebration. And the next year, when we won the championship, he said, can you do, what would you like to do? And I said, well, how about a reception and a drink? So I bought, I don't know how many hundreds of pounds worth of drinks for the reception and things like that. But I just like to do a little bit, like with the television screen and the books and the shirts and the other things. And it's no big deal really for me. It's good when you do something, you put money into it, Phil.
Well, I think it's great that you have the the ability and the time and the resources to do that, because I know it kickstarts a lot of things at the club. And I mean, when you look at the signs around, like brick in the wall and that, you can always find your name and Angela's name on the list. So I know it's appreciated by the club and a lot of the fans. And I mean, like we were saying earlier, people do look for you when you're, when you come to the matches. And I get a kick because I like it when if I'm in the hospitality and sitting at a table with David, I'll be talking to my wife, and then 1 second later, I look over, David's gone. And like Darren said, he's gone for a walkabout, you know. So I talk to David more on the phone than I do at the match.
Oh, I agree. I mean, Darren, one of the best things. I mean, Phil, one of the best things I've done personally is a book I did with Darren about 50 years. To me, winning the championship was a good book that I did via the company Apple Green, which I partly own as well, such as. But the 50 years of stand, that to me was the best thing I personally have been involved in.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to come on to that. Yeah, I was going to come on to that later because what some people will probably not realise that without David, the project would not have got off the ground. So. I'm eternally grateful for David for his help with that, and it's fantastic that we managed to get it out there and people, enjoyed it and gave us good feedback. But there's no doubt about it. Without David, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I echo that because I just want to ask David, when it comes to the club, and somebody asks you for help or assistance, have you ever said no?
No.
I got you to say no, but you don't. No, you're always...
No, I've never said no. No, if it involves a club and it involves a good cause, which I think the club is, I am just enamored by not only Tony and Darren and numerous people, Peter Latham, and people who are putting their heart into the club. That I just feel good to be with these good people. Simple as that.
Yeah, and one other thing I wanted to say about the book is if it wasn't for the 50 years book, we probably all wouldn't be on this recording right now because the 50 years book was really one of the first things that I came across, and I had actually ordered a copy before I came to start talking to Darren, and then I figured I needed to track him down and get him on the show if he was writing a book about Accrington Stanley, and now here we are talking about it.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
I think for me, the football passion has always been with me. I mean, I was playing in goal as a 9-year-old, and as an 11-year-old, I played in goal at the school, and I finished up having top teeth knocked out, and my head nearly being knocked off by somebody who kicked me in the head. But it's always been there, and I would leave school and I would play for the local, the Nottingham under 18s against Birmingham and things like that. But it's always been a passion. Had I had the rights, I mean, I've had connections with Alan Burton, who went to Leicester. I had connections with Henry Newton, who went to Everton, and a couple of others. But I finished up being a milkman.
I'm just coming on to that, David, because I'm just curious about Nottingham Forest, because I know that's your other love, and before you got involved with Stanley, and you were around about for some fantastic years, weren't you, with Forest when Cloughy was in charge? That must have been pretty special.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I first connected when I was about 9, about 13. I found out the local club just down the road, they would have pre-season friendlies, and we're talking about late 50s. Now I'd go down and get autographs. But then I started going down in about 1957, 58, when it was about 5 pence to go in. And after that, I sort of cotton on with my son Jamie. I then went to the matches, but when Forest weren't even in the higher divisions. But we used to go, and the golf empty. It was hardly empty. You could move from one end to the other end. Half the ground was empty half the time. But you knew something was happening. And then, of course, when we used to go and stand behind the goal, they had Shilton, and you couldn't stand behind the goal when Shilton came because everybody wanted to be behind the goal. And you saw it coming. These players, you saw this building and building and building. And of course, you had the Liverpools who said they are a terrible team. They're not up to much anything. But Cloughy proved them all wrong, and they had something out there. I don't know what it was. I think they did off a cliff for Cloughy. But also, I stood with Jamie sometimes outside the changing room when all the windows were slammed to, when Forest lost, and all the players come out and take the Nottingham and say, "Have you anything to say?" Nothing. They were frightened of them as well. They were really. there must have been a real man inside that changing room, and I understand that our friend Mr. Coleman can do it a bit. Oh, whatever, he can talk nicely.
Just straying away from football for a second, I know there's significance in your with your name and your initials and birth date. Would you like just to expand on that for people who wouldn't know?
Oh, right, and Phil. Yeah, I had the pleasure of being born on June the 6th, 1944, and my name should have been Frederick something Davis. Anyway, the midwife said to my mother, "Why didn't you call him David?" And his initials would be DD, June 644. And I've always been proud of it. And not a few years ago, Andrew and I were taking veterans over to Normandy. Some of the stories of the old guys. In particular, there was one story about Les Alsop, who was only 17, 18-year-old, and he realised that the British Navy were bombing the beaches and killing many, many Canadians. And on his own volition, he sent a text to one of the ships and said, "You've got to stop it, you're killing the Canadians." And he got a wonderful citation from the Canadians to say that he saved hundreds of lives. But, these people were so wonderful people. It would have been a pleasure. But one of the biggest memories, I offered to take one of the chaps in the village over to Normandy. And he said he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go. I said, "Why not?" He said, "I could never get the smell out of my nostrils." So I said to him, "What do you mean?" He said, "They're dead in the fields, the animals, the cows, I never want to smell that. I can't get that smell out of my mind."
Yeah, I know it's, and we thank the midwife because you don't look like a Fred.
No, it's been a pleasure being named David Frederick Ronald Davis as such, and it's just I have some good times, but some of the stories, I keep meaning to write a book about some of these antics that these. I mean, one other story that Les Alsop and his plane were flying over to Pegasus Bridge, and they'd left Manchester, Ringley's in Manchester. They'd had to change their stripes on their shoulders. They were the 2nd Battalion of the Parachute Regiment. As they were flying over, they had to sew number 6 on. So the Germans thought that there were 6 parachute regiments, and when he landed on there, they were waiting to drop out, and the front man wouldn't get out. So they shouted to the boss, and he told him in no certain words, "But can you please kick him out?" But not like that.
No.
Yeah. David. Yeah, David. So the next question for me, I'm always curious sometimes when I see you when Stanley score a goal and I'm sat with you and you're usually texting away. I'm just wondering who you're contacting.
I don't know. Somebody in Canada usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You do get it first hand, don't you, Tony?
I get the score before it even comes up on BBC text commentary, and there was a time that I found an app that gave me instant scores, and I was getting the score before David. So when he was at home and Stanley scored, for a couple of times I actually phoned him, and he said, "What are you calling me for?" I said, "Stanley's going to score," and so I did beat him a couple of times, but no, I enjoy that because I get I get updates from David when Stanley scores and at the end of the match.
Yeah, the about 2 minutes behind, I think. So yeah, Tony has stopped messaging me until after I say it on the iFollow feed. It's kind of funny how everybody sees things happen. If you're there, you've seen it in real time, and then wherever you are around the world, you might be seeing it 30 seconds, 2 minutes later, and everybody's getting excited at a different time.
I would like to see you over here then, Phil. See you at Stanley Ground at all?
I am planning a trip over there as soon as things get back to normal. I can't wait to get out to the WHAM Stadium. I mean, that's really top of my list. And one of the things I actually did want to ask you about, this is probably a good time for that, is so who is your all-time favorite Stanley player that you've watched?
For me, or for Tony, or anybody. I personally had a lot of time for Pearson,
Matty
Pearson.
Yeah.
Pearson, can't think of what his name is. Matty. I spoke to Matty right a few. Could I spoke to Matty Pearson, but could I give him man of the match a couple of times? And I thought he was a man that was going to go somewhere. My biggest disappointment is to see Clark go. But unfortunately, I don't know whether Darren and Tony agree with me. A lot of these players leave the club and they don't perform at other clubs.
No, there's one or two, and they do move on and they struggle because it is quite a unique atmosphere, isn't it, at Stanley, and it's conducive to being a team player, etc. There's one or two who've moved on and done okay, but like you said, it's not always definite that they're going to go on and be better. But I think the finances dictate it, don't they? They get offered, they can double and treble their wages. It's a short career. They've got to go for it, haven't they?
Well, I think though, but I say Matty Pearce was that. But I just think that it's a shame really that Clark's gone. But then again, everything moves on, doesn't it? But is it? I can't think that the inside left McConville. I can't think what his name. Yeah, I think he could do better, but he seems to be. He's a player that seems to be in and out of the game. He goes missing for bits and all that lot. But when he's not in the side, he is missed. To be honest with you, my biggest disappointment was the guy who was with us a couple of years ago, the goalkeeper Fulham, who has now got promoted with Fulham to the Premiership. He was a good lad.
Oh yeah, Rodak. He played last night, didn't he, in the final?
I have occasionally tried to recommend Tony for goalkeeping, but
Tony only plays goalkeeper in hockey.
Yes.
Well,
yeah, he needs his pads on.
I'll tell you, the only time
I just say, Phil, I've always loved that. It's always been a passion, and having got injured at 21, 22 and never played football again, I diverted to become an athletics coach, and I had 18 years good coaching, county champions and championships and all that lot. But my passion, I would have played into my 50s. I would have played walking football if I could have done, because I would be missing from work on a Monday morning, and John Boddy would say to the manager, "Well, David's been playing football Saturday, Sunday, and Sunday afternoon, and probably can't get out of bed." Happy days.
One of the other things that I wanted to ask you about was, what are your thoughts? You've seen a lot of the John Coleman, Jimmy Bill, and now John Doolan era. Give some thoughts on, what you've seen over the years, and what do you kind of think is the key ingredient to their success over the years?
Go on, Darren.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody knows that. What I think of the success. I'm sure David agrees that it's unbelievable. Really, you can't write the scripts, can you? You just don't know what's coming next. I've seen pre-season training this week turning up. There's probably 10 players sat in a little group on a field in Accrington, and you think, how is this going to happen this year for going into League One? But you won't be surprised if we're near the top at the end of the season. Anything can happen with Stanley.
Yeah. I think they make it. I look on Coleman and Bell being similar, not as good, but similar to Clough and Taylor. They know each other, but I find it very strange that when we're at a match watching the game, Belly's up and down like a jack in a box, and he sits against the fence. And sometimes I think you should be doing it. I mean, it was the other way around at Forest. Taylor always sat in the dugout, and Clough would be out pointing, waving, shouting. And I think sometimes that John doesn't do enough pushing.
Yeah, I think he probably does behind the scenes. But it's funny you should say that. I watched a documentary the other night on Sky, and it's going through Forrest, Clough and Taylor and the glory years. And there's so many parallels between those guys, obviously on a different level than Coleman and Bell. How they assembled a squad, they were going getting players from lower leagues, making them into European champions, how they made people overachieve. And I think it's just the same at Stanley. They can go into non-league and make someone a League One player, and it's a real ability to have, isn't it? There's not many managers can do that.
Oh, and I think one of the things is...
Tony, what do you think about the Coleman Bell?
Well, I think, obviously they went to other places and didn't have the success and come back and really picked up where they left off. But I think one of the big things with Stanley is that they give their give John Coleman and Jimmy Bell the time to put their plan into practice and get the players and develop them and improve the product. So, I mean, they've got success. It's like you said earlier, David, it's not always greener. The grass is not always green on the other side. And I think both of those guys have proved that their successes at Stanley. And as we've said before, long may it continue.
Yeah. I think that long before I was coming, Wrexham and Notts County, Boston, and places like that, and where it was at Shrewsbury Town, things like that, long before I started to come into the ground directly. But once I'd actually come to the ground, I always wanted to be there. And one lasting memory is we're playing, I think, one of the league matches, and Radio Nottingham. I've been talking to Radio Nottingham in the day, and they said about where are you going? I said I'm going up to Accrington. Well, for, and I said to watch the match, and they said, well, will you ring us when you get there? So I did, and people were saying, "Oh, I met. What were you doing up there, Davis?" I said, "Well, I was watching the match," and luckily Accrington won 1-0, and I Radio Nottingham. I said, I win whichever way. I said, if Accrington lose, we've done well. If Accrington win, we've done fantastic. And Radio Nottingham they couldn't get their head around that.
So, Tony, I think that you have some special questions prepared for David, don't you?
Yeah, I think we've, as everybody knows, we do the section called Rapid Fire, and so I thought we haven't done it for a while, so we've taken the opportunity to upgrade it. Well, this one's tailored to David, and sort of it's the new and improved Rapid Fire. So Phil will go ahead and get the sound effects in. Okay, David, we see a lot of pictures on Facebook when you do your travels. Where is your favorite place for fish and chips?
Whitby, Magpie Calf.
Oh, yeah. Good answer.
Yeah. Do you like black pudding with your full English?
Yes. Good old berry black pudding.
Yes. Now, is it true that you ride on a Harley Davidson dressed as Father Christmas?
Yes, that is correct. I have a job getting off it with the big fat stomach I've got on it when I put
that's Santa Claus for our American listeners.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you do it in December. It's not in July, is it?
No, well, I've been seen on back of a horse, not a horse-drawn tram, but one or two things anyway. Yeah, I like doing it. We have about 15 Harley Davidsons normally, and we get quite a big reception when we drive down the street.
Great. Okay, next one. Who was the best footballer you ever saw live?
Personally, I think, and it wasn't anything to do with the English footballer, the best footballer that made Nottingham Forest was Robertson. He was a tubby lad. He'd had lots of trouble at Forest, and that he'd been into trouble. Cloughy turned into a match winner, Hamburg, but people couldn't handle him. Tom Finney. I did see Tom Finney. I did see Stanley Matthews. I did see the Lion of Vienna. I've seen a lot of Jimmy Greaves, but for me, he was something special. Robertson, number 11 for Forest.
Well, that's good. I didn't expect that one. Okay, next one. On your bacon sandwich, red or brown sauce?
Red.
Red.
Definitely red. Oh, I couldn't stand brown.
Best football ground you've ever been at?
I think, believe it or not, I'm in Forest in some respects, but the best ground I've been to, let me think.
Well, for atmosphere and just overall experience.
I think Filbert Street, Leicester, in the 60s, when you actually looked at the ground and you looked at the match from eye level. You were down. We went on a train. We went there, and that was different. You're literally eye level watching these legs running past you.
And the next one is name two people, past or present, that you would like to have dinner with and why.
Oh, there. Elk Summer.
People are going to have to Google that one.
Yeah, Elk Summer. She was something special. Yes. and also my wife.
Oh, good answer there, David.
Yeah. At the same time, that would be interesting.
Yeah, Elsa. I must tell you a story about that. She was in one film, and my wife and I were at the cinema watching. And Elsa got into a gondola in Venice, and these two men sat behind her, and they shot her. And these two persons behind me said, "Blimey me, what a waste!" And it was only a film, but the way they said it, oh, what a waste.
Okay.
Go on then.
What was the first motorcycle you ever owned?
The first motorcycle was a 175 scooter, a BSA scooter, which I then nearly got killed on it. I got wiped out by the Nottingham football boxing promoter, Reg King. So Angela then gave me £50 of her money as a 15-year-old, and I bought a 250 aerial arrow that we used for quite a while. And my mother never realised she'd taken the money out of the bank. She said she took the money out of the bank for Christmas presents. But then I bought it. Then I had this Honda CB72, which was like, it was so fast. It was something off a shovel. It was that fast.
Yeah. And we know from your Facebook post that you and Angela like to travel. Where's a favourite place you'd like to get away for a few days?
Old Stanton, because it's lovely. It's on the coast. Fantastic sunsets. It's not that busy, but it is a wonderful place. And I say that even though I've been to Russia, Iceland, Norway so many times, but it's just convenient. It's 92 miles away from here. And the people will go to the place where we know, and people know you. You know, it's nice to be known when you walk in and say, "Oh, hello, Miss So-and-so." And the sunsets over the sea. Second one would be the Cromer. We go to Cromer for the Cromer Fair shows, like to see Marty Wilde, the Baron Knight. Lots of people. It's the only. I think it's the last fair show that actually do shows, and it's wonderful. Norfolk to me. It's a hidden gem, and Darren is going to be going at some point.
Yeah, well, now my world holidays, European holidays are on hold. I'm intending to see a little bit more of the UK, so David's been giving me some good tips, which I'm going to take up.
Well, I'll tell you what, he'll probably have the maitre d' show you to a nice table for your full English in the morning.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. Just mention David's name and you get best service.
Yeah, you get the best seat. And the last one for me, David, is if Hollywood were to make a film about your life, who would play you? And it can be anybody, actor, dead or alive. Who would play you?
Dirk Bogart.
Bogart. Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah, you're telling no which way I'm going, boy. I thought swing you out.
Yeah, Bogart. Yeah, I mean,
Bogart.
Classics.
He's looking at you, babe.
Excellent. Well, thanks, David. That was good for being a good.
Could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
It could be. What did you rank to the tie you got then, Phil? You like it?
The pie?
No, the Aki tie, Accrington tie.
I can't wait to try one. I've heard
Phil.
The
tie.
The tie.
Oh, the tie. I thought you were talking about the pie. I thought you were talking about the pies at the concession stand. Oh, the tie. I love the tie. I got a black shirt to wear with it, and it is a fantastic tie. I'll have to post out the picture for people who didn't see it the first time.
Yeah,
I want to try the pie too, though.
Yeah. The tie. That's the Holland's pies. They're from Accrington. Holland's pies. The Holland's pies, because you never see anything else on the street rather than Holland's pies, do you, Tony?
They're good.
And Darren.
Yeah, that's it. And that tie, it got a bit of an airing on a little bit of a quiz show. Well, it might be a quiz show, didn't it, Phil?
Possibly. So I might be going on a game show here in the US, and I'm planning to wear the tie if I get selected.
Yeah. I've got one. I say with the club, I when we make things, we make them as cheap as possible so the club can make money out of it, Phil. I don't do it to make any money at all. We normally just do them as cheap as we can, the shirts, the T-shirts, anything, the mugs. If we can make £1 extra for the club, or £2 or £5, it's fine by me. I just love to say the club is me. I'm not saying it means everything to me, but the people, right, at the Darrens and the Tonys, and even anybody I meet at Accrington, really, who are genuine Accrington fans, they are good as gold. They are real, what I call football people, nice people, Lancashire people. Look, I get excited when I drive into Lancashire and get to past the Pendle Hills. I start getting excited.
I think that you've really kind of summed up what has made me be an Accrington fan from 5,000 miles away. Is it really is? It's about the people and everyone that you meet that is a big time Stanley follower, like you said. Proper football people that really live and breathe the club, and that's exactly what made me want to do this show about Accrington Stanley, and have all the interviews that we've done with everybody from the players to Andy and John Coleman to obviously yourself, members of the supporters club, Peter Latham. I mean, everyone involved with Accrington Stanley, as you guys say over there, is a top bloke.
yeah. I mean, Peter Latham, he really is he's not underrated. He's one of those people that very well. He'll have an idea, he'll have something to say, but every time you sit, I've walked around the ground talking about what about doing this, what about doing that, and sometimes these things come to fruition. But we have a good connection. Like I have a good connection with Darren and a good connection with Tony. But when I walk out hospitality and see Sophie and people like that, and Daniel and David Burgess and that, the people that I've always got a word, always have a laugh, always have a wave to, always shake hands with, and you feel at home. That's the word. You feel at home.
Yeah, and one of the things, David, that when you're at the hospitality, I notice everybody comes over to say hello to David. He's like the Godfather of hospitality lounge,
The mayor.
Yeah.
You mean not don't say Godfather, you'll be talking about Fleetwood soon.
We always enjoy having you up there, and same again. It's been brilliant having you on the show tonight. I'm sure it's long overdue, and we've had some good fun. It's been fantastic.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you two and Phil, and not more happy results this coming year, to be honest with you. But it's been a pleasure, Tony, and it's been a pleasure, Darren, and also Phil. Lovely talking to you, and I follow the podcast every time. So keep up it, and we'll look forward to seeing you. You can have Holland's pie when you come over.
Well, thank you, David, and thank you so much for everything that you do for the club. Everything from, like you said, from the merchandise, like the ties that you make to help the club, to make a little extra money, to the memorial garden, to Darren's book. I mean, obviously these are the things that are what makes Accrington Stanley special, and you're just a huge part of that, and it's just been an honor to have you on the show here today. We always like to finish up with an on Stanley on. On Stanley on.